I try to be like a proper human for the next half hour. I will be giving this collage-like lecture. I have about 200 slides. I'm not sure if that's humane. So buckle up. First, I will start very frivolous, showing some projects, and then later on, I will become more philosophical and talk about, indeed, how our technological environment becomes so complex, omnipresent, and autonomous that we start to relate to it as a nature of its own. So if I have my slide now, then we could start, and there we are, I think. No, not yet. Let's just have a nice silence and be relaxed about this. Actually, I'm going to do something else then while we're waiting for the technician. I'm going to already spread a folder of a project I will talk about. It's the Nano Supermarket folder. It's about a supermarket that I designed, and it shows products that might be in the shops within the next 10 years. And I wonder if I give a pile like here, then it will go all the way to the back, and the same might happen here. I have more. Let's start here. So I just give you something to read while we're waiting for the screen, right? Yeah. Well, you already want one? Here you are. Do you need some help?
Yeah, please.
Yes? Okay.
This is all right.
Yeah. But it does
It shows the screen, but there's just black.
maybe more.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it working? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my slides. So I can start the lecture now. Hello. I'm Koert van Mensvoort, and I'm an artist, I'm a scientist, I'm a designer, I'm an engineer, I'm also a philosopher, a producer, a doctor, a blogger. So I guess in the end I'm more or less an amateur. Certainly as an artist, I really am an amateur. This was one of my first attempts of making this Bob Ross style natural landscape. Although, in my wilderness things were a little bit different. Luckily I work in all media, not only painting. This is an installation I made, the Data Fountain. It's a clip made by the Japanese television, and actually the idea was to connect water to money. So this is a fountain which is connected to the internet, and every 5 seconds the latest currency rates are transformed into the water jets. So here you see the stock traders looking at the fountain, and then they can learn how their money is doing. I think that was kind of the thing to do nowadays, because apparently nowadays the financial world has become much more important than the weather. So I wanted to give these people some natural phenomenon so that they could look at the things that was really important for them. And it's refreshed every 5 seconds. And interestingly enough, you see also changes in the currency rates every 5 seconds. So you could transfer them to the pumps. Here I explain in Japanese how I got the idea, but we don't understand Japanese here, so let's skip this. Of course, you could also do it with plants, like a little embedded system, and then the plants grow according to the yen, the euro, and the dollar. And another implementation would be this. I don't know how technical you all are. Yeah, this would be still very difficult to implement, to geoengineer the whole thing. But as a speculation, of course, you can think about it. And often I design speculative products. This is an example I did for the Coca-Cola company, organic Coke. It's not yet on the market, and we know when it will be on the market, something new has happened. I made so many speculative products that I made an entire supermarket, and I already distributed the folder. It's called the Nano Supermarket, and it presents speculative products that might hit the shelves within the next 10 years. So here you see someone programming his own wine, of course the transparent smartwatch, and the wall paint I will talk about later. And this Nano Supermarket, all these products in it, they use nanotechnology. So yeah, I don't know if you have heard of nanotechnology. It's all technology on the scale of 1 billionth of a meter. And yeah, that's very small, and we can do all kinds of stuff there. But of course, the big question is, how will it change our life? So already in this supermarket, you can see a bit. This is our logo. So we tried different versions. Actually, this was the cheap version we tried. But in the end, I decided it should be this black and white star logo because it had to be a supermarket noir. Not only presenting the nice, innovative things, but also the rather uncanny, maybe less desirable products would be in this supermarket. And when I designed it, I was inspired by these old-fashioned mobile supermarket that used to go through villages. Of course, this is too retro, so you combine it with something futuristic, and then you have there your nano supermarket. And it's now traveling Europe. It has been in Italy, in Spain, although not in Germany yet. So it has to be in Germany very soon. And yeah, in it there are these products. So allow me to discuss a few of the products. This is the most popular product in the shop. It's the Wall Smart Interactive Paint. It allows you to change the color of your wall as many times as you like with your smartphone. And it's a coating that uses magnetic nanorods that bend the light. I will not go into the technical details. Right now, it would still be too difficult to make, but we can make this kind of small piece. This we could make today, and then we speculate that in the future we could do a whole wall. So you also see here this indicator, which is not entirely full. It would be full if it's on the market, but it shows that it's halfway full, so it could be possible. It's not like just a crazy story. Another product is the energy belt. Body fat is often seen as a liability, but what if you could use your own body fat to power your smartphone? That would be a big innovation, because we're all carrying around these electronic devices, and yeah, it's just 1 + 1 is like although you might also end up in a world in which you go and eat another burger because your battery is almost empty, which is maybe not that desirable. But still, yeah, we know how the energy works in your body, and just to transfer it to electricity, maybe we could do it. I think it will first be applied in pacemakers, because people with pacemakers, every 3 to 5 years, they need a new battery, and that might be very elegant if they could drain the energy from their own body. Maybe in the future you could also use the energy belt to power this. This is the Twitter implant. And basically the Twitter implant It tweets everything that happens inside your body. It's just being tweeted. So if I go running and I live a very healthy lifestyle, well, it's tweeted. So my whole social network, but also my health insurance company will know this. And if I maybe smoke a cigarette, it will also be tweeted, and I might get a penalty on my health insurance. So yeah, this is the least popular product we have in the bus. And you know, because who would want a Twitter implant here in the room? Are there any people? No, I was not expecting any fingers. Maybe you're just shy, but so this is crossing a border. But the interesting thing then, where is the border exactly? How far do you want to go in sharing all these private data? And when are you reaching the border? Maybe that's something we should think of. There are not only dystopian products in the supermarket, also more utopian things you would like this energy-friendly algae lamp. On top we see here a colony of algae, and they live from sunlight, so it's photosynthesis, and then you would drain a little bit of energy from that colony of algae to lit the light. If you turn it on too often, of course, the algae will die, and you need to replace the fluid with the algae. But it's very one-on-one, environment versus energy. Another interesting project or product we presented, and actually we made a whole campaign around it, is the Rayfish bio-customized sneaker. And for this product we made a separate commercial as well, which I'm now going to show you. At this company, rayfish.com, and you can actually go to the website and everything is there. The assumption is that they hacked the DNA of the stingray fishes, and they can turn any pattern they like on the skin of the fish. So on their website, you can basically design your own stingray, and then after a good life in the fish farm, the fish is turned into this bio-customized sneaker. And now my question is, who would buy this sneaker? Yeah, there are some people who would like to have this sneaker. And who would not buy it? Who would say, no, I don't want to buy it? Yeah, because that's a good point. Because actually these choices on what products you would or would not buy, they have some meaning. The Stingray sneaker is more like hedonistic, individual, pleasure-oriented product. Whereas, for instance, the algae lamp, it's more purposeful and social. So these products, they have some meaning behind it. And on the Nano Supermarket website, you can actually pick which products you would buy. And you can basically say, okay, I want this in my shopping bag. And then we don't send them to you, but we generate a profile, a technology profile. So it might be that you are a techno-utopist who just wants all the new technologies, or more like the conservative, purposeful green guardian, or it could be that you're just an emotional shopper following others. And there are 16 profiles, and you should try it on the website yourself, nanosupermarket.org, and then you get some awareness on how you would cope with new technologies. Because of course that's the deal, and although these products, they are still very speculative, the discussion around them is 100% fact. It's very real. And I think this is a very important discussion also to have, because nowadays every human being on the planet has to cope with technological change, and still we don't seem to have much of guidelines for ourselves or frameworks for ourselves on how to cope with all these new technologies, when to accept them, when to discard them, how to use them in our lives. So yeah, this is a big question, I think. I feel we are often sleepwalking into our technological future, and it's about time that we understand better how technology enters into our life and what it really means. And to understand this, I think we need to begin at the beginning. And that's really the beginning then, because the beginning would be, today it's about 4.5 billion years ago, since our planet came into existence. 4.5 billion years. And it took 3 billion years before this lonely rock in space actually turned into something with a biosphere. It took 3 billion years for the biosphere to grow upon planet Earth. And then 1 billion years later, mankind evolved. And we are now here. And as I see it, we are causing the rising of this new sphere, a technosphere, which is growing on the planet. And just like the biosphere builds upon and interacts with the geosphere, also this technosphere builds upon and interacts with the biosphere. So yeah, that's a simple message. Evolution goes on. And we all know Darwin, who envisioned this idea of evolution 150 years ago. But still, when we think of our relationship with nature, we are very naive. We still have this feeling that we stem from this biblical paradise that we were once kicked out. And since then, we are only the sinners who are destroying everything on earth. Whereas the truth is, I think, is that we are all born already in a world that has been designed completely already. If you look around you now, in the room we are in now, and you try to find the most natural thing in this room, I wish you good luck. It's not easy. So, the most natural thing in this room, and it's you. It's people still are the last resort. And yeah, nowadays we live in a world in which young children, they know more brands and logos than birds or tree species. Not only in the western part of the world. And so with our science and technology, we turn our original natural environment into a world of design, which can be marketed and served to you. Yet, at the same time, there's another story. Also, our technological environment becomes now so complex and uncontrollable that we start to relate to it as a nature of its own. So what will we leave for the future? And what will our own future be? Well, don't worry. We're speculative designers here, so this is a Photoshop. There's not really a lady walking around with these high heels. But I think as a metaphor for our time, it's a very important image because it shows one of the most prominent stories of today, which is that we are now living in a time in which born things and made things, they are fusing, they are blending. And traditionally, everything that was born we thought of as nature, so plants, animals, the climate, and everything that's made we thought of as culture. But that's now blending. Or at least, well, I think to be more precise, it's shifting. And allow me to elaborate this with a simple graph that I think we can all understand, so bear with me. If we put on one axis born versus made, and then we put on the other axis autonomous versus controlled, then I have now like a proper school teacher made 4 quadrants, and I can put all kinds of things in there. So in the born, controlled quadrant, I can put things like a rainbow tulip, a bonsai tree, a genetically modified banana or chicken. These are all natural things, born things, that are entirely controlled by people, up to the level that we don't call this nature anymore, but it has become design. In the upper quadrant, born and uncontrolled, there's still a lot left which we don't control. Viruses, volcanoes, lightning, or the sun. We don't have any control over the sun at all. It's so much bigger than us. And this should also make us modest, that there's still a lot of original, old nature, uncontrollable nature left. Then on the made control side, I can put things like a car, a telephone, a robo-dog, a light bulb. It's not too exciting, but up here things are exciting. Traffic jams, digital networks, computer viruses, or the financial system. These are all man-made entities which are now growing beyond our control. We cannot control this anymore. We made it. And this is a big shift, because traditionally we used to think of nature as everything born, but it's now shifting to an idea of nature as everything beyond our control. And then especially in this quadrant, we have to flip our mind, because here, a nature caused by people emerges, a man-made nature. And this is new, because traditionally we think of technology and nature like opposites, black and white, day and night. But now we see that our technologies, they can also be naturalized. So, what happens here? We could just say nature changes along with us. And if you have this new perspective on the world, then you see things a little bit differently. So allow me to share a few examples from my own life. These are all the razors I used throughout my life. So when I was 17, I started with this simple razor with 2 blades. And this morning, I shaved myself with this 6-bladed razor. It has a battery-powered in it. It has a LED in it, and it looks a bit like a vacuum cleaner. And you could wonder, is this evolution? Is this an evolutionary process then? Most people will say no, because we humans, we made this. But then we could perhaps call it a co-evolutionary process. And are we now co-evolving with our technologies, just like the bees and the flowers also co-evolved and help each other to propagate? We think and we read in the newspaper that biodiversity is decreasing. But then when I walk into the supermarket, I see this enormous amount of biodiversity. Can we call this biodiversity? Perhaps technodiversity would be a better term. But we now live in a world in which there are more patents filed than there are known species. So what's shifting there? A flock of credit cards as a symbol of the financial system. Could financial engineers learn from farmers and gardeners who have extended experience of dealing with semi-autonomous ecologies like the weather and the climate? What if we see the financial system as a semi-autonomous system that we can maybe not entirely control, but how can we guide it? Can we guide it? And what will be also the new way of building if guided growth becomes a new methodology, a new way of working? These are the root bridges in India. I find them very inspiring. They're simply built by connecting 2 roots on 2 sides of the river, and then after a while you have this nice grown architecture. And how can we guide the growth of this phenomenon? No, this is not some star nebula far, far away in the universe, much closer than you think. This is a map of the internet. And every computer and every mobile phone plotted as a little dot, and all the connections between them plotted as little lines. And then you get this, I think, beautiful structure. And you are somewhere, you are then somewhere here. So you are this tiny little dot in the whole structure, but you are connected. So you should be able to make a difference. But like the fish who don't know it's wet, we are surrounded by our technology, and we're not even aware of it anymore. So what could we do to get a better understanding of how we co-evolve with technology, how technology comes into our lives? For the last few minutes, I want to present a model that tries to do this, and it's called the Pyramid of Technology. And it's based on the well-known pyramid by Abraham Maslow, the hierarchy of human needs. I don't know if you know it, but in 1943, Abraham Maslow, he proposed this model of human needs. And every lower need had to be fulfilled before you could climb higher. So lowest would be physical needs, safety, security, social belonging, then self-esteem, self-realization. So a schizophrenic tramp is really at the bottom of physical needs. Most of us are somewhere in the middle, and the nurse that helps the tramp is at a higher level even. That's the Maslow pyramid. Could we do something similar for technology? And what would it look like if we would order technology in these layers? What would be the lowest level at which new technologies can operate? Well, certainly the lowest level would be the envisioned level. Every new technology always starts with some kind of idea in the human brain. An example of a technology that's currently at this level is the quantum computing. Some scientists, they're working on it, they're trying to figure it out, but they don't have proper prototypes yet. It's still just a vision. And it's really not sure if it will ever be in our lives. Just like the time machine is already envisioned for centuries, but I have not yet seen a prototype. But then again, the communication satellite, it was envisioned by Arthur C. Clarke, and it took over a decade before Arthur C. Clarke, a well-known science fiction writer, envisioned it, and it took a decade before the first satellite was sent into orbit. And then this was effectively lifted to the second level. It became operational. So that's the second level at which a new technology can operate. Another example of a technology that's currently at this level is in vitro meat, lab-grown meat. Growing meat in the lab without having to slaughter an animal. You just take a few cells, you grow the meat while the pig is still running around in the garden. We have a prototype now because the first lab-grown hamburger was presented last year. And okay, it cost €200,000. Very, very expensive hamburger still. But yeah, there's a prototype. It's not applied yet. You cannot buy it. Examples of technology that lingered on the applied level for a very long time are solar panels. Because for decades they already exist, but it really took a long time before they became cost efficient enough. And they're also struggling with other technologies, because another example of a technology which has been applied for quite some time already is nuclear energy. But it's still controversial because of the pollution, the risk of disaster. We cannot really embrace it just yet. It's not accepted yet, because this is the next level. And yeah, it was already mentioned earlier, the smartphone, that's a technology that was just there and immediately accepted by everyone. Other examples of technologies that are at the accepted level are cars, flat-screen televisions, GPS systems. And for me personally, I'm this kind of guy who I cannot navigate without a GPS anymore. I just cannot do it. I always need it. I cannot read a map. So for me, the GPS is already at a vital level. Technologies have at a vital level. Well, if you remove them from your life, you have a big crisis. And an example of a technology that's also on this level is sewage. You don't think about it that often, but just imagine that you would take all sewage from the city now. That would be a big mess and a big crisis. And of course, sewage is already out there for a while, but also the internet, which is quite young still, has become a vital technology very rapidly. If you would remove it, it would be a big, big crisis. And you could even argue, would you rather live without sewage or internet? I don't know, you decide. I think it's an interesting debate. I would like to try to live with internet but without sewage. How would that go? What would it be? And arguably these two technologies, they're already pushing towards the next level, because if they become really successful, then they tend to become invisible. You don't experience it as technology anymore. And other examples of invisible technologies are, well, I think the alphabet is a good example. Really, the alphabet, it's an ancient information technology. And as a child, you have to spend a lot of time mastering the alphabet. But then when you can do it, you forget about it. And writing is everywhere, not only in books, in computers, billboards, even graffiti. Writing was introduced to make our thoughts and voices permanent in the physical space. And it's very powerful technology, but it's completely invisible. We don't think of it as technology because it works. Another example of an invisible technology is the clock, which allowed us to measure time with more precision than just the year, the month, and the day. You can schedule a meeting with great precision. But also when you wake up in the morning and your alarm clock is ringing, then you notice that this technology also pushes you into a certain way of living, a certain model. You could say that this technology also domesticates us. So it's not only that the clock is serving us, we are also serving the clock in a way. And that's, of course, especially because it's invisible, it's quite tricky. Because if you allow technologies on the invisible level, they can rule your life without you noticing. And then even the higher level, because I don't know if you can already guess what would be at the highest level, the ultimate level a technology can reach. And similar to the Maslow pyramid, it's hardly ever attained. But at the top of the pyramid of technology, I think technologies become naturalized. Examples of this, there are many. Think of clothing. It's completely natural for us to wear clothes. Another example would be agriculture. 10,000 years, the idea of agriculture was a technological revolution, which radically changed our relationship with the natural environment. We were no longer living the hunting-gathering lifestyle. No, we settled down, planted crops, waited for them to grow, and then harvest them. And this allowed villages, later cities. And today you cannot imagine life without agriculture. It would simply not be possible. And we don't think of it as technology, but 10,000 years ago, it was an innovation. Another example, even older, would be, well, I don't really mean the barbecue. Because when we do barbecue in the summertime, we speak of going back to nature. It's this back to nature ritual. But cooking, if you think of cooking as a technology, which was invented, well, we were not even sure, but about 200,000 years ago, the technology and the technique of cooking was introduced. For the first time, people got the idea to extend their stomach in the outer world and pre-digest the food before the eating. So you could intake more calories in less time. And as a result, we were able to grow smaller guts and bigger brains. Bigger brains need a lot of energy, but it allowed us to socialize more and be human. So here you see that some of the ancient technologies actually, they're so old, they're completely naturalized, but they're also made us the humans that we are today, which learns us that we are by nature technological as human beings. So technology is also not this strange force outside of it. We are by nature technological. And when we see the whole pyramid, there are some more things to be learned. So always you see new technologies are introduced as something very artificial. Then you get used to it, it becomes more familiar. Then it could become a second nature. And the ultimate you can reach is that a new technology, that it eventually becomes a first nature, part of human nature. One more thing about this pyramid of technology, which I think is important, is that different people, they operate at different levels. So the envisioned level is the domain of the science fiction writers, the visionaries. The operational level, principal scientists like Nikola Tesla, who envisioned wireless electricity a century ago. Applied level, you find people like Thomas Edison, half inventor, half businessman. Accepted level, Steve Jobs was already mentioned. No, he did not invent the MP3 standard, he did not invent the Sony Walkman, but he could combine this in an utterly acceptable product. And many designers and marketeers, they also work on this level. At the vital level, it's a bit harder to find someone who's operating there. But arguably a person like Barack Obama, with his attempts to introduce healthcare as a vital technology in the US, while at the same time trying to get away of the idea that a gun is a vital accessory for every American. You could say he's operating on that level. Then at the invisible level, I had some difficulties. There seemed to be a vacancy. No one is really working there. And also at the natural level, there's not really a profession that says, I'm working on that level. And this is perhaps because we don't understand technology as the whole system. Typically, when we talk about technology, we talk about the lower levels. And also when you ask people for their definition of technology, they have this informal definition of technology is anything that was invented after I was born. That's sort of how we think of it. Or even worse, technology is everything that doesn't quite work yet. And this is a limited understanding. And if we want to have a better technological future for ourselves, we need to go full cycle and understand the whole system. Because right now we are settling for partial solutions. So think of telepathy. That's a dream that already exists for centuries. People dream that they can do telepathy, and then they settle for a mobile phone with an empty battery. Or think of flying like a bird. Who here in the audience ever had the dream of that you are flying like a bird? Yeah, this is amazing. There are many people who dream about flying like a bird. I don't have the dream myself. I'm a bit jealous. But if you have that dream, why can we not realize that? Da Vinci was already dreaming of it. No, we settle for a crowded airport. We accept it. If we take our technologies full cycle, then you will see that at the top level, they will resemble the dream at the bottom. So that's what we should do. If we invent new technology, we should push it all the way to the top. And it will not be easy, but I'm sure of one thing already, is that any sufficiently advanced technology eventually will be is indistinguishable from nature. Thank you.